The world's poorest countries are suffering from civil wars, ethnic and religious conflicts. The COVID-19 pandemic, high inflation, and geopolitical tensions made the situation even worse. So how to identify the poorest countries in the world? While GDP per capita is often considered a standard measure, adjusting to differences in living costs and inflation rates when using purchasing power parity (PPP) can help best assess the economic productivity and living standards of people in a country. Below, AllThingsTop will bring you the sad list, the top 10 poorest countries in the world. 1. South Sudan. GDP per capita, GDP per capita, 455 United States dollars. South Sudan is the poorest of the world's poorest countries. Despite owning many oil fields, South Sudan is a prime example of a resource curse in which excessive dependence on natural resources has caused political and social fragmentation, inequality, corruption, and war. The majority of people live on traditional agriculture, but violence and extreme climate events often negatively impact farmers' farming or harvesting activities. This year, an estimated 9 million people, more than 60% of South Sudan's population, need humanitarian assistance. 2. Burundi. GDP per capita, GDP per capita, 916 United States dollars. Burundi, a small sea-free country, lacked natural resources and had to go through a 12-year civil war from 1993 to 2005. About 80% of Burundi's 13 million citizens live on livelihood agriculture, making food security risks nearly double the average for countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Moreover, the country lacks access to clean water, poor sanitation, and less than 5% of the population has electricity. President Evariste Ndayishimiye tried to restart the economy and restore diplomatic relations. In 2022, both the United States and the European Union restored aid after lifting financial sanctions. However, while growth is slowly recovering, inflation is expected this year to be around 22%. 3. Central African Republic CAR. GDP per capita, GDP per capita, 1,123 United States dollars. Despite its wealth of gold, oil, uranium, and diamonds, the Central African Republic is still a very rich country but has a very poor population and has been among the poorest in the world for almost a decade. Although it is aiming for a national reconstruction, large areas of the country are still under the control of armed groups and rebels. In recent years, however, economic growth has signaled a slight recovery thanks to the timber industry, the agricultural sector, and diamond mining. 4. Democratic Republic of the Congo DRC. GDP per capita, GDP per capita, 1,552 United States dollars. Since independence from Belgium in 1960, the Congo has consistently experienced decades of persistent political instability and violence, making it a regular presence in the ranking of the world's poorest countries. About 65% of the population, or 65 million people, still live below to United States dollars and 15 cents a day. Despite this, the World Bank said the Congo has the resources and potential to become one of Africa's richest countries and a growth engine for the entire continent. The country is now the world's largest producer of cobalt and Africa's leading source of copper, the essential ingredient in electric vehicle production. 5. Mozambique. GDP per capita, GDP per capita, 1,649 United States dollars. Mozambique, with its rich resources and strategic location, has regularly recorded an average GDP growth rate of over 7% over the past decade. However, the country remains among the world's 10 poorest countries, where poverty rates remain high and the percentage of people living below to United States dollars and 15 cents per day reaches 60%. The lack of accurate and transparent information about the economy remains a major obstacle for Mozambique in attracting foreign investment. Moreover, storms and flooding remain a major threat to the country's development. 6. Niger. GDP per capita, GDP per capita, $1,675 United States dollars. With 80% of the area in the Sahara Desert, Niger is facing serious desertification. Famine, disease, and mortality in this country are all high. In 2021, Niger witnessed the first democratic transition with Mohamed Bazoum, a former teacher and former interior minister, taking office. The economy grew by 12% in 2022, generating many positive expectations. However, since the summer of 2023, Bazoum has been overthrown and the military authorities remain in control. 7. Malawi. GDP per capita. GDP per capita. $1,712 United States dollars. As one of Africa's smallest countries, Malawi's economy relies heavily on rainfall-dependent crops, so it is highly susceptible to weather changes. Food shortages in rural areas are particularly severe. Malawi has maintained a stable government since independence in 1964. However, structural reforms are slow. Currently, Malawi is struggling with economic crises, fuel shortages, rising food prices, and a sharp devaluation of the local currency. According to the World Bank, by 2023, more than 70% of Malawi's population lives below the poverty line. 8. Liberia. GDP per capita. GDP per capita. $1,882 United States dollars. Liberia has been among the poorest countries in the world for many years. Public expectations rose when former football star George Weah became president in 2018, but his tenure was hit by high inflation, unemployment, and an economic downturn. By 2023, he was defeated by former Vice President Joseph Boakai in the new election. After decline in 2020 and 2021, Liberia's economic growth has recovered in 2022. Forecast for 2024. Growth will reach 5.3% and continue to remain above 6% in the coming years. 9. Madagascar. GDP per capita. GDP per capita. $1,979 United States dollars. Since independence in 1960, Madagascar has experienced much political turmoil. Madagascar currently has the world's highest poverty rate at around 75, while economic growth is sluggish and inflation is close to 8%. The country also faces unprecedented challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic exerted economic and social influence, while declining grain supplies from Ukraine caused food prices to skyrocket. Madagascar is also one of the 10 countries most vulnerable to climate change, with droughts, floods, and hurricanes damaging people, property, and crops. 10. Yemen. GDP per capita. GDP per capita. $1,996 United States dollars. Yemen, with about 35 million inhabitants, is one of the poorest countries on the Arabian Peninsula. Since late 2014, Yemen has been in conflict due to a power struggle between the Saudi-backed government and the Houthi rebel movement. The war claimed more than 150,000 lives, crippling the economy and destroying critical infrastructure. As a result, despite all resources, more than 80% of Yemen's population still lives in poverty. Here is a list of the top 10 poorest countries in the world that AllThingsTop has brought to you. Please like and subscribe to the channel to watch many interesting videos. Hello and see you.